Welcome to Oorwin's first series of webinar, which we are trying to start from this month onwards. I hope everybody is staying home, staying safe, and as they say, learning never stops. We are going to just ensure that when we are at home, we'll learn more, and we have a topic which is very close to a lot of people who have registered basically remote recruitment. So, um, no need to worry. We are recording this entire webinar, and we would send across the slides to each one of you who have registered and participated in the webinar. Apart from that, if you have any questions and answer post the webinar, we will take some questions, but considering the time, we won't be able to take all the questions, but we will definitely, answer those questions post our webinar if we get those through our emails. So since we are webinar, we are running short. We'll run with 30 minutes. In 30 to 35 minutes, we will try to cover as much as possible, which are critical in the current scheme of things. The industry impact, state of hiring, what are the remote work methodologies, how do we sell services during such times, and then of course the questions. So quickly, let me introduce you to Venkat Kohli. He's the CEO and founder of Oorwin, one of the pioneers in the staffing and consulting industry. He has been working with some large consulting firms across US, India, and various geographies. So he will be the key speaker, keynote, and he would take us through the entire presentation, and he will make us understand and learn a lot of things. As far as I'm Mahesh Iyer, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Oorwin. I've been part of organizations where I've been leading sales and marketing across different verticals. Now with Oorwin, and part of the sales, marketing, and go-to strategy for Oorwin. So that's quickly in a nutshell. So I'll give it to Venkat to start the webinar.
Sure. Thanks, Mahesh. Thanks for the introduction. Just a quick update on housekeeping. Just wanted to make sure everyone understands there's an option down there to enter your question and answer. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and put your question in there. We'll try to cover all questions possible after this session. At the end of the session, we'll try to cover everything. So our main intent for these, so we're trying to come up with a set of webinars and to make sure we engage all our employees, our customers, and also in general about what market changes are happening right now. So one of the biggest challenges, I'm sure everyone is at home and being safe. One of the biggest challenges we are seeing is remote work is very important right now. And it has changed governments to industries to organizations, from the largest to the smallest. Everyone is adopting to a remote work model right now. So we are seeing a lot of different trends as I'm talking to a lot of C-level executives as well as business owners. There's been an impact for sure in terms of the working model. So what we want to share here is how companies are engaging remotely and how they are doing things more effectively. So that's the intent of these webinars, is to make sure we share that. So to get started, what we wanted to discuss about here is about the industries in specific, as to which in general with COVID-19, what are typical industries that are being affected. And this has been a big question across many companies, many businesses that I'm talking to, as well as even customer side, different perspectives. So everybody, for sure, there is an impact, right? So there is either it's a positive impact or a negative impact, but that impact has been seen across the industries. So here, if you look at some of the industries, what we've done is we've gone through some of these industries and wanted to share this information because there has been a lot of activity in different sectors. Maybe to start with, we'll talk about, industries that are primarily affected, right? So there's been industries like manufacturing. Manufacturing has been heavily been affected, right? One of the biggest challenges, our reliability on, different global countries like China and, other countries. So there hasn't been the same level of production. But the other challenge is also people, right? So to do manufacturing, you need more number of people, but then, you don't have enough people in the US right now to work. So manufacturing capabilities have gone down a little, so there has been an impact. Other industries like construction, because workforce are not out on the field, they're not building stuff, so there's been an impact there. Hospitality, for sure, no one is traveling right now. There's no airlines, hotels. So hospitality has been right now pretty affected because there's pretty much no travel across anywhere. Aerospace, as you know, that's also been affected because no travel, obviously no flights being manufactured, and at the same time, no flights being, flown around. Financial services as well. A lot of financial services companies also are affected because of various factors. What we are seeing is some of these businesses who have reliability on huge debt, or who have invested in companies who are not doing well. So there are different factors in which, financial services are not doing. Education, as you know, my kids have stopped going to school, so it's been really tough for me to manage them at home. But in general, education as a sector also has been affected, where a lot of kids have not been going to school, and that's actually automatically creating an impact. And there's also businesses around schools that get affected. So it's a whole ripple effect right now. So the other industries are also getting affected. The other aspect of education, there's also a positive side of it. There's a lot of online based education portals that are coming out, and they're actually doing really well right now. So there's a lot of trend we are seeing there. Obviously, trade is also affected because, there's no travel, there's no transportation. So if you see here, on one side, we've talked about, industries being affected, and on one side about industries that are doing really well. But there are some industries which are in the mid section, which I would say are not fully affected, but are, not really affected. They also have come up with some advantages as well. Just take an example of electronics, for example. Electronics, people, US is all a consumer market. People are used to buying a lot of stuff, right? They go to Best Buy and, all these stores and start buying stuff. But that actually has gone down because there's no stores being open. So people are not going out to buy more stuff. But the other side of it is the e-commerce aspect, where people are actually buying TVs and electronics and other stuff because they're actually at home and trying to work from home. So there are some electronic companies who are doing really well even at these times. So there is some sort of positives as well as negatives in the electronics. Same way agriculture, right? So if you take agriculture, there's a huge demand for food and, other stuff. But the problem there is they don't have enough, workforce to cultivate more food. So that's been a challenge there. So other aspects like transportation, for sure, because they don't have enough workforce to travel. Fortunately, here they've in US and even in India, these are all considered as essential workers. So they've been given some leverage where transport industries are doing well. Not all, but some of them which which are mandatory. So those companies are doing well in the transportation. Take, for example, mining, right? Mining actually has been affected a lot because same problem, workforce. So if you see in general, as across the industry, workforce has been the biggest challenge. And because people are not allowed to come out and they don't want, the virus to spread out, they're not really going out, and the sales haven't been that great, right? Take, for example, fashion is one, right? Fashion is right now pretty affected, but at the same time, they are also selling stuff online. So there's a sales component online also happening.
So
entertainment.
Venkat, can we say that whatever the products which are for immediate consumptions, those are the ones which are not affected much, because these are the ones which we needed every day on a daily basis, like
That's correct.
industry, public utility. These are all daily consumption, and this will never get affected. The ones
Correct.
which are passive, which is not immediate requirement, like fashion and mining and agriculture, they are not immediate requirement, but they are
Correct.
future. So yeah, that's a great
So
thought.
it's not about future, Mahesh. What's happening is they are also mandatory. Some of them are, but they have their own limitations right now, especially in terms of doing business. So
Right.
they are getting affected in some way or the other right now.
Right.
Also, entertainment is very interesting, right? So you guys, I'm sure everyone watches Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix is just booming around, right? You watch Amazon Video; it's just doing very well.
Right.
At the same time, you can take example of AMCs and movie theaters and all these places, traditional entertainment, concerts and
Yeah.
events. So they're not doing anything. So those are all impacted. So there's a positive and negative even in entertainment. So there are some new ways in which businesses are doing stuff to, engage the users. At the same time, there are different ways that they don't want people to gather together and, start doing stuff. So
Correct.
that's been, so these are some of these industries where there's neutral impact and not heavy impact in general.
Sure.
There's the other thing. Oh, Mahesh, can you just go back? I wanted to talk about this. I think this is important because we want to figure out industries where there's a huge demand right now, right? So in general, if you talk about where we as services or a staffing company, where do we look for business, right? So ideally right now, most of the business is actually, if you ask me, is in the food industry, right? So the grocery chains are doing very well. Delivery companies are doing well. So anything that's generally food related and supply and a part of the supply chain, they're doing really well right now. Public utilities are actually doing well because you need power, you need water. Those are mandatory things. There's no impact there, but there's been some sort of impact. As I'm talking to utilities and other customers, the impact that they see is in terms of customers' ability to pay them, right? So that is actually being affected. Like a lot of people are not able to pay their current bill, like the water bill. What they're trying to do is delay these, not just skip them. So there's been some sort of effort, but not majorly. So for them, but then their services are very important. So they are coming up with new initiatives, hiring more people for their customer service, for different new initiatives. So different ways in which they're hiring. So there's a lot of consulting engagements, consulting work, as well as staffing work in the public utility space. Other one is life sciences. I'm sure we all know, we are all waiting for this because we all want a vaccine that's going to help us out and make sure we get over this. So there's a lot of investment into life sciences companies, pharma companies. So there's heavy investment and there's a lot of hiring going on. Other important one is non-store retail, right? All these companies that are e-commerce products that are out on the web, they're all doing well because everyone's buying stuff online and they're not going to the store right now. So there's a lot of hiring going on. Other is IT. So the reason why I wanted to stress on this IT is that technology has been very important in terms of people making decisions. Technology is the one that's driving a lot of new initiatives, right? So you take examples of companies are trying to figure out how they can use IT to run their business better now, especially in terms of these unprecedented times. They are coming with innovative ways using IT to solve different problems. So we for sure see that there is going to be good potential in terms of IT companies. So in different areas as such. But you'll see a huge technology transformation over the next year where companies will transform themselves into different technologies as well. So these are just to make sure. So if you have any questions and if you wanted to talk, we'll take Q&A at the end. We'll walk you through any questions in these slides because I personally feel this is an important slide because people need to understand where opportunities lie for staffing and consulting companies and which companies that we can target on right now.
It's quite interesting. You said information and technology. I feel that the impact is not that much. I agree with you, is because remote, they are the one industry which can work remotely. People can work. People were using laptops before, so they can work from home. They don't need a desktop or they don't need a workstation in place. So that's a good point. And I think so. One of the industries which didn't get much impacted because people are working remote, so they can work from home. It is
Right.
tough, but they can work from home.
Yes. Fortunately, if you're in IT, it's not affected that much. In
Yeah,
general, you see there are going to be cost-cutting activities where they're going to reduce workforce in terms
yeah,
of IT. But at the same time, there also there's a need for IT workforce because they need to reduce costs. They need new projects to reduce cost as well. So
right.
cost-cutting initiatives are also new projects. So in one way, if you look at it, they don't want to hire full-time resources. They want to use contingent workforce using consulting companies, or else use staff org in terms of reducing cost, because they don't want to hire somebody full-time just to do a project to reduce cost as well, right? So that is also there right now.
Right. I agree completely.
Good.
So,
So
shall I?
let's just move on. I know in the interest of time,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
just move on.
Just quickly, a lot of people have asked questions, so we will take the question post the presentation is done. That will be better, so that we can collectively answer those questions. So you can hold on to your questions. You can throw the questions, but we will take it definitely.
Yes, please put your questions into the Q&A box down there, and we'll answer these at the end. So I think the next thing that we want to talk about is the state of hiring in general. Like, where is hiring happening, right? And what's happening right now? In general, what we are seeing in terms of hiring is there has been a huge spike in industry-based, industry-specific hiring. There hasn't been across different industries, but specifically. But there's been a huge adoption to remote hiring and onboarding. So this has been one of the most important things that companies are doing is remote hiring. And traditionally, we are not used to seeing that. Previously, you never saw this many companies hiring remote, but people are okay to find remote candidates, get them onboarded, and at some point make them come to the office. Hopefully, after all the pandemic goes away, right? So I think that's still going on. One area that specifically I wanted to bring up where we see a huge impact is in terms of campus hiring, right? Campus hiring has actually gone down because a lot of universities and colleges across the US have not been used to this traditional way of remotely doing career fairs and events. And also their students are used to going to career fairs to get jobs or, apply online and different ways. But the campus hiring right now has actually gone down a little. We're seeing a good freeze sort of, reduction there. Other trend that we are actually seeing is a lot of companies who are in consulting and staffing is there's a lot of bench candidates coming back, a lot of non-billable candidates who are sitting on the bench right now. So that actually has gone up, and we see that as a trend over the next 2-3 months to go up, not down, because there could be more cost cutting, different cost saving engagements happening. So where there are going to be a lot of freezes, and there's going to be a lot of bench candidates coming up in these companies. Other important thing is there's been a lot of discussion about salary reduction, as well as, if you talk about consulting staffing companies, is a rate reduction as well, right? So companies are talking about keeping those people for a longer term, but then reduce the cost in terms of reducing the rates. So that is also happening right now. A lot of companies are talking about it. Other important thing is every company right now has to adopt remote technologies. If they are not, they won't, it's really tough to survive in this market. So there is right now more need than ever to start adopting remote technologies right now. I'm sure everyone right now is on Zoom. So Zoom has been doing really well. Of course, they had their own problems before. So I see still problems are going on, but I think they'll get over it. I think that's one thing that's going on. Yeah. Also, assessment tools are also picking up because you want to assess people, interview. So that's also, and in terms of social media communication also is going up. So these are in general, we wanted to talk about the state of hiring as such, how things are going on. So Mahesh, do you want to just move on to the next slide? I think, so Mahesh, this is one other important thing that, we wanted to discuss about is the state of hiring, right? I've never seen this, but I'm sure no one ever has seen this, but I travel a lot, right? I've traveled all my life. I've never stayed at my house this many days ever in my life. And hospitality and travel is very close to me as in such, right? And this is the first time we are seeing that there's no travel. And imagine we are like no airport life, sitting at home is really tough for us. Even now when we try to hire, even our hires internally also, or even the customers that we see, all the interviewing has happened in person through Zoom, through
Right.
different ways. But so onboarding, still hiring is still happening right now. I wouldn't say that staff org is and staffing companies are very affected, but there is effect, but still hiring is still going on right now. In terms of huge demand, logistics, healthcare workers, supermarket workers, they're in huge demand, and they still really cannot find a lot of people. I'll give you an example of one company that I've been following for a while, is Instacart. Um, I knew that the fourth quarter of 2019, they were not doing the best, and they were not sure what the business is going to do, right? COVID-19 has changed it. They're doing amazing right now. They have so many orders. They are so backed up right now. In states like California, if you place an order, it takes at least 4 or 5 days to really, get a delivery through Instacart. So if you look at it, so there are some companies who are doing really well now, and people will start adopting to those, companies as well.
So in India, Big Basket is something which is similarly, I think so, in huge demand. I remember my wife, trying to find a schedule for the delivery, and they're not they're not getting slots. So it is in big demand. So yeah, I completely agree. These Big Basket, which is your essential delivery, which is important, and they need a huge workforce. So that's the truth. Yeah.
Correct. I agree. Yeah. So also one other important thing that we are, when we talk to customers, we are also seeing is that there has been a freeze on external hiring. At the same time, they're also not hiring full-time resources.
Right.
What they want to do is, instead of hiring full-time resources, they are trying to bring in consulting and staffing companies to help them with the immediate short needs. So there are opportunities out there for short-term staffing. So there is, short-time placements. So there is always an opportunity there. So ideally, I would suggest is, talk to your customers, start engaging with them and talk to about how to fill those immediate roles as well. Okay. So let's move on. I know we have, so we just wanted to, I will let Mahesh also talk, I'm sure, because he's also not really traveling and he's at home. This is a problem we all are facing right now. So again, we see this across every day. Big challenge we see is communication, right?
Yeah.
We used to just go by and say, hey, Mahesh, how do you do this? Now you're trying to get their time, you're trying to get on a call. So communication has been the big barrier, if you say, in terms of remote working. Other thing is companies are facing in general, and including ourselves internally, we face is, how do you track productivity? Right? This has been a question that's come up many times, is how do you track the productivity of employees working remote, right? Previously, when you're in the office, you can just go by and say, what happened, what is going on. But when people are remote, it gets really tough. So tracking productivity is also a very important aspect of, remote monitoring right now. Other thing, that challenge that we are also trying to figure out, and also, I'm sure companies are also figuring out, is the concept of culture, right? So it's been very important, especially in growth-based companies, or even for staffing companies or consulting. Culture is a very important thing, because you want to make sure you have all your employees connected back to the organization, because you want to grow with the people as well. So that's been a big challenge, and there are innovative ways to come out with it. So there's companies coming out with different ways of creating culture as such. And of course, distractions are going to be there. We have kids. For me, every day I have my kids just jumping into my room and be like, Dad, I want to do this, I have to do that. So somehow, we have to get them engaged so that we have to stop distractions. So that's one of the challenges that I see right now. So let's just move on, Mahesh.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to share is some recommendations that if you say, on how we think that you can engage your remote employees. I think this is very important, because we spoke about the challenges that we are facing, but we also need to make sure that we solve these challenges, right? The question is, how do you solve these? The most important thing is, especially when you have all your employees remote, try to create a personal connection. And the best way is when you're having a meeting, try to do it in a video, right? So what happens is, be it all employees try to do a video actually gives you the like as if you are talking to the person in real time. So just try to do more video connections so that you can talk. And also, even when you do team meetings, try to make sure you have your video on so that people watch each other. You can say hi, hello. What happens is when you don't have video, you don't have the same engagement. People are distracted, something's come up. So, but ideally, when you have phone and video calls, try to keep it through a video itself. Especially, employees working remotely, one of the biggest challenges, again, communication. So try to be responsive and available at all times. It doesn't mean 24/7. It means that whenever during work days, just try to be available. So I think it's very important that you stay engaged as well. Other important one is also try to recognize and reward. We used to traditional ways of recognizing and rewarding employees, right? So we have to come up with new innovative ways of doing that. So these are even our consultants as well as candidates, potential candidates, try to recognize them about their skills in terms of their work they've done in the past. So try to keep them engaged in such a way that they're actually connected to us for future opportunities as well. So I think that's very important aspect is what I see. Right. So I'll let Mahesh talk about remote recruiting and remote workforce, just so that he gets a chance to talk to. I know I've been talking a lot, but
you're doing pretty good, Venkat. Just carry on. I'll give my inputs wherever.
Okay, perfect.
So, remote recruiting and remote working is something which is very close to everybody these days. So I think so you can go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah. So I think the next big challenge is, we spoke about, remote workforce management. Now the next big thing is, how do you do it in the future, right? So what happens in the future? So if you currently look at the current state, except for healthcare and supply chain workers, everyone else is remote, right? So, but recruiters in general need to find a different way to engage with candidates through a total remote process. Right now, a lot of staffing companies are still in that mode of engaging customers, but it actually is also going to the next level where the candidate also is not going to the customer location. They're also working remote. So there is some sort of different process in place. So right now, traditionally, they would go on to the customer site and then do onboarding, but now that's all gone. Everything has to be remote. So they need to have their laptop ready, VPN ready, whatever it takes that the customer needs. Make sure compliance is done, security is met. All that should be done remote as well. The most important thing in general, especially for staffing and companies and consulting companies, is to make sure that you have an ATS platform that supports your business right now, especially in times of remote. It should support you in all aspects of remote working, right? So try to make sure that that is in place as well. In terms of very important aspect is also make sure you have video interviewing tools, right? Even when you talk to candidates, try to do a video interview. It creates a totally different experience when you do an interview rather than calling and asking if they're available. When you try to do a video interviewing, there's more effectiveness in general as such. The new generation, the Gen Z guys are all talking about text. You call them, they just be like, text me, message me, or Insta me, or even Snapchat me, right? So no one's talking about send me an email these days. So the new generation is all talking about, texting and chatting. So that is their way of engagement, is they want you to do texting and chatting rather than calling or even emailing. So people need to we as organizations also need to adopt to that, texting and chatting option as well. Other important thing is remote onboarding. Again, this is very important, especially when you're bringing in new employees. Try to do everything remote, like especially send documents remote. There's amazing number of tools. So even internally, Oorwin, we also have some capabilities, but there's DocuSign, and all these other remote capability tools. So you can onboard your employees remotely as well. Also, there are some employee engagement is also important, especially when your workforce is all remote. Try to keep them as engaged as possible. So in general, if you look at in general where we see the future and how it goes, it is very important to keep in mind that most of the workforce will start working remote. So we need to get ready for that. So we as organizations also need to be ready for that change. So it's very important also. So one of the biggest question that comes to your mind is, how do I find customers, right? How do I get to reach out to customers who are out in the market? How do I start selling my services? I mean, I'm a staffing company, I'm a consulting company. How do I get new customers? So this is one of the biggest questions that all companies are facing right now, and they're always looking for solutions. So I think in the next few slides, what we'll talk about is, about sales in general. Um, what is the process that companies are taking right now to identify potential new clients as well, and how they can increase their offerings and services. Um, I
I
think
think the sales is something which is, I always believed, this was my belief. I've been doing sales for last 23 years. It has always been remote. I've never understood this concept. Sales has always been remote, because the first call you make is
right.
a call which you're doing it from the office. Or
That's right.
what difference does it make? You have to still call the customer and convince him to meet you. So the difference here is not meeting. You can do it on a video call. So I
That's
think
correct.
of all the job roles across industry, I think so sales is the least affected. The reason being, it has never been on the face or in the front kind of a role. It has always been, the first couple of calls has always been either an email or a phone call. So this is something very interesting. Everybody should understand. If you are in sales, don't worry, nothing has touched you. You're still going to make those calls.
Yeah, I'm sure, you can see Mahesh is a sales guy. He's just trying to sell us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I agree to your point, Mahesh, especially inside sales, like lead
Yeah,
generation and
yeah,
activities and all, are still remote, right? So they're traditionally remote. You would send your emails, you run your campaigns, get your leads generated. So that still is not changing. The aspect that's changing is your meeting the customer is changing, right? The
correct,
face-to-face meeting is coming into a video meeting right now.
correct.
So that's been a big traditional change right now is what we're seeing. So what we wanted to discuss here in general about sales strategies is how staffing companies are doing their strategies, right? Initially in the first slide, I wanted to stress time, and we spoke about different industries where they're hiring going on. So ideally right now, it's very important more than ever to target industries. Instead of going cross industry with your offerings, target specific industries, have your set of candidates for those industries and target those industries. So that would be a typical approach right now to do. Other important thing is, I believe in a totally 80-20 rule, right? You get your 80% of your revenue from 20% of your customers. So you have to start engaging with your existing customers. Try to be their trusted partners. These are very tough times for everyone, right? So try to engage with them, keep them motivated, make sure that you talk to them as much as possible, figure out how you can help them out. Other important aspect is also try to, especially in sales, in staffing, one of the biggest area that I have seen and a lot of companies have not adopted to, I personally feel, is having a CRM in space, right? So there is not really a staffing CRM as such companies are putting on space, because they're used to traditional relationship based selling rather than doing all these campaigns and all that. So they are used to traditional way of selling. But ideally more than ever now is it's important to put a CRM in space that will help create your engagement with your potential customers as well as existing customers. So that's a very important aspect. Other important thing that I suggest all staffing companies is to increase your digital engagement.
Absolutely.
Right now, everything is digital. Everything is content, videos, right? So you as an organization, if you have to think about long-term where you want to be, it's very important to increase your digital presence. So try to create more content, webinars, newsletters, anything that you can help to communicate with potential customers as well as potential candidates. So try to keep that and try to increase your digital presence as such. That's going to be a big impact. Also, social connect is very important. I'm 100% sure everyone is on LinkedIn these days. as soon as I wake up right now, maybe 10 years ago, I would have opened Facebook. But the first thing now I open is LinkedIn, right? So LinkedIn is my new Facebook, if you call it. So it's very important to be on social media and try to connect to potential candidates as well as customers as much as possible. So we see that as a big trend going on right now.
You'll be surprised. A couple of weeks back, I was part of a panel discussion where we did a similar kind of webinar. It's not a webinar. It's more of, they call it the tweet
Right.
engagement. So the entire discussion happened on tweets. So there were 5 questions. The speakers were answering those questions. People were, retweeting it and then asking their questions based on that. So it's
Okay.
pretty interesting. I think so. Even Twitter as a platform, it's very underused as a sales tool, but it is a
Right.
brilliant sales tool, especially for staffing companies, because you will find a lot of candidates, passive candidates. Also,
Correct.
if you are looking to identify passive candidates, you'll find a lot of passive candidates on Twitter also. And of course, customers are always there on Twitter. So you can
Correct.
always, that's a big pool where if you're not on social, especially on Twitter and LinkedIn, I think so, you're not on the right track. You need to be there. So
Correct. Again, it all comes to digital presence. I think it's very important that
absolutely, absolutely.
organizations start adopting, increasing their digital presence.
Right, right.
So let us move on to the next slide. So this has been a general question, as you know, especially when I'm working remote. We used to go into events to get new customers. We used to do sponsor events. Go and meet customers. When you go to New York, you go to San Francisco, you go to London, you go to India, Hyderabad, or anywhere in the world, right? You traditionally you find a client, you get your pretty new clients by meeting them. That's been the usual way of doing things, right? But things have changed right now. So ideally, we need to come up with new ways to find customers. So we still have to follow some traditional ways of doing it. Like Mahesh said, we still have to do inside sales. Run your campaigns, send bulk emails, reach out to customers, engage them in different ways so that you can get connected. So it is very important to keep that engine still running. Other important thing that we see right now is the referrals. Referrals are actually doing very well. So a lot of companies are getting more business when they do referrals rather than trying to knock the doors. Whenever there's a referral, that creates a lot of things, right? So that's been very important. And also the next thing is create content on your website. That's important because what happens is people come to your website when they look for information, right? And everything is on the web. When they want to research about hiring new people or in terms of finding new candidates, they just try to go online and search. So try to create good website with new content that will keep people engaging. So that's very important. Also try to use LinkedIn. Like I said, LinkedIn is very important for sales teams, recruiters. Try to get an access for LinkedIn Navigator and try to reach out to customers so that you can increase your reach to customers as such. So also there's also one other important thing that I wanted to bring out is also there are sales data platforms that are available in the market, which have a list of contact information for different organizations. So this has been the traditional way of reaching out, but it actually is going to change because there has been impact with COVID-19. We don't know if the same guy is existing is there or not. But ideally, we are suggesting clients to still reach out the traditional way because a lot of decision makers have not made a transition are still right there right now. So it's very important that you engage. Other important ways with is if you want to get new clients, try to share insights with potential customers on general trends that you see outside. It is no matter what, talk to them about who's hiring, how they are hiring, different areas, but just give them insights on what is going on in the market and how things are going on. So it's very important that you share information and knowledge as well. Okay, so the next most important thing is you're trying to get new customers, but you have an existing set of customers, right? You are in business because you have someone who's giving you money, right? So you have clients. So you have a set of clients that you're working with, right? So it could be any client. One of the most important thing right now than ever is to let your customer know that you're still in business. Okay. The reason why I'm saying that is a lot of customers are not sure whether companies are staying in business. So they have this point of uncertainty is, can these companies survive this market, right? So it's very important that you let them know that we are still in business and there's nothing changed and we are here to support you. So just make sure that you do the communication to customers that there's business continuity plans in place, so that, you know, we're not going out of business, we're still engaging with you. We are going to make sure our employees are working for you, our candidates are working for you. So, and we have more services coming up. So that's one way. So manage your clients right now is right now very important. I know some people are asking questions. I will answer that questions at the end. So I'll just hold on to that. Okay. So also other important thing is,
I mean, during such time, Venkat, it is very critical, like, your existing customers, sometimes they might be hesitant to renew your services, or they would want to hold on to your services. So these are the times we need to stand to the customers and tell them, yeah, we are here. We'll offer you something. Like Oorwin has gone ahead and offered not only to the existing, we are looking at to all the staffing and consulting companies, where we are giving 1 year of our HRMS solution absolutely free of cost. So if you're in the staffing and consulting business, this is the right time to reach out to us. But yes, all the existing customers, we are going to stand by you, and that's how all the that's the right way to do it. In fact, when banks are going ahead and giving you a moratorium period for 3 months, I think so we are good enough to give our customers a couple of months to hold on, and we can continue the services. We can do all that. That's a nice gesture during such times.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's very important. Letting them know that you're there is more important now than ever, right? So yeah. Also, I think it's very important. The next point that I wanted to talk about is also be accommodative right now, right? So if there is they may come back to you and say, what, I would want to defer these payments, or furlough. You have some employees, I probably need to furlough it. So there is, right now we have to accommodate them, because right now these are times where we want to make sure that we have relationship with them. So try to be very accommodative right now. And also it's important to ask your existing customers if there is an impact. It's very important that you do that, because you want to understand what is that impact that they're going through. Some customers may share that, some customers may not, but it's very important to ask that, so that they understand that you are with them and you're going to support them during these times. So it's very important to do that. Also, even when you're talking to your existing customers, try to do video chat, because you're not going to go and meet them right now. So try to do a video chat right now when you talk to them, so that you can keep the conversation very active right now. So I think that's also a very important aspect to keep in mind. Good. So moving on, I think this is also one other important thing I wanted to talk about is, so this is a curve, right? This is not a curve that we see very often. So the whole in general economy has gone down as such, but I will tell you it is going to go up for sure, because since over 100 and thousands of years, so economies have gone up and down. For sure it is going to go up, but it's just matter of time and when, right? So that's the most important thing. To win more opportunities, be ready, right? So there are going to be opportunities. So be ready with everything you have in place, and be ready for a spike in your business, right? So you don't want to have too much business and not be able to serve it. So be ready to be able to manage that spike as well. Right now, customers are very open to engage staffing companies, because they want short-term engagements. They don't want, you probably won't get 5-year engagements contracts, or you won't get 1-year contracts. You probably will get 2 or 3 months contracts. So just try to talk to your customers and make sure you offer different options as such. One other successful strategy that I've seen a lot of staffing companies and customers do is pay-as-you-go model. So there's a pay-as-you-go. So this is a very important one, because what customers are doing is they are coming and telling you, I will reach out to you whenever I have work, right? And I will pay you, for example, 50 hours in a month, right, for these services. So try to be accommodative, find candidates who are ready for those options, who are working on other initiatives but have time and are able to manage, because everything is remote right now. So pay as you go as a model as such is very successful now. I see a lot of companies adopting it. So try to adopt that, because they can also, instead of paying for 160 hours, they'll pay for 50 hours, but then they'll still can get their work done as such. So that's a model as such you can offer customers to win more business as such. Also very important is also know your customer. Whoever your customer is, if your customer can be a large vendor supplying people, or large pharmas, or anyone. Try to understand what the initiatives are and what they're looking for and what their plans are, so that you can prepare yourself to win more business. So that's also very important, to understand their initiatives. And the only way you will know their initiatives is by asking them. There's no other way. This is not very commonly available information, but once you ask them, you for sure, I'm sure people will share that information. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is in general onboarding. So very important. We are used to, I'm used to interviewing in coffee shops and restaurants, and flying in people into offices. So that actually has changed now. So the most important thing to remember is video platforms are right now more important than ever. So try to do most of your interviews through video, and also in face to face itself rather than on call. We would suggest all video platform interviewing right now. So all hiring is going to be remote till everything opens. But I don't see anything happening for the next 6 months to a year where in-person interviews are a rare thing, and I don't expect that to happen for 6 months to a year from now. Okay, moving on. Like I also mentioned, other than hiring, there's also the onboarding component. It's very important. So when you onboard, when companies are onboarding, even staffing companies, make sure that the candidates, whoever is being onboarded, you're also engaging them and make sure that they feel part of the organization as such. So when you do that, when they are talking to a customer, they represent you, right? So they want to make sure they talk about who they work for. So you want that representation at the customer side. So make sure that they are engaged in the company and they also feel as a part of the team. So it's very important to do that. Also, when there are new employees, try to provide them as much information as possible. Try to keep them busy, and try to do frequent checks with them, and make sure they're also very engaged. Keep that engagement going on. I think we have another 12 minutes to go, but let me just talk about long-term, short-term, and then we'll take Q&A. I think this is very important, because I'm sure everyone has this question: is what happens now, right? So what's going to happen long-term? How is my business going to be 1 year from now? So it's very important right now that in general, staffing and consulting companies are not going away. So no matter what. So more than ever, there is more dependency on contingent workforce, because they don't want reliability on full-time people. So they are going to hire more. There is going to be more of executive hiring, and less of traditional developer and traditional roles hiring. So that is actually going down, and it's actually going to go up in consulting and staffing engagements. Other important thing is, people previously, less than 50% companies would say no to remote. Remote is never encouraged at all, right? But right now, 100% of the companies are open to remote, and they're also talking about keeping it for a long term as well. Because if they see effectiveness in remote working, they would want to keep it that way, because they see more productivity happening that way. So we also need to come up with different ways of managing trust. How you do background checks, how do you validate these candidates, how do you do your Skype interviews, video interviews, how do you manage your relationship with your customers, with your candidates. So all that's also changing right now. So you need to come up with different ways of managing that relationship. So long term, there is an impact, and companies are trying to adopt to that change. So that is also coming up right now. So there's going to be a behavioral change as such. In general, we are all used to sitting at home right now, like all of us right now. So there are going to be new technologies, and there's going to be behavioral change in which the ways we work and our lifestyle as such. So we have to be very cautious. I suggest, I'm a big I love traveling, but unfortunately, I don't believe I can travel for a while right now because of the whole situation. But I think things will change eventually. But till then, we just have to stay put and be safe. And there's nothing else I can tell you on that. But I'm sure, because if you are in India, in the US, you'll see a huge difference. Try to be safe. That's the most important thing right now than ever, right? So what we'll do right now is let's just go. I just wanted to talk about one other thing, is also tools. I know somebody brought it up. So there are a lot of tools in the market, and one of the questions that came up is what are some of the sales data platforms that that are out in the market. Traditionally, sales data platforms most commonly used is there is a company called Discover.org. It's a little expensive, they're a good expensive product, but again, you need to figure out the value of whether it makes sense for your business or not, and how much of a business can you generate using it. So they're also coming up with new ways to find new customers, so there's also an option to use them. So there are different data platforms, like Zoom Info is one product. There are small new startups also in this space. There's a lot of new startups. Ideally, when you're looking for ways to figure out these companies, I would look at startups, because they are the ones who would provide you better deals, offers, and also try to keep you as a customer too. So example is, there is a company called Seamless. I've seen a lot of customers start using it. So Seamless.ai is one. There's also a company called Hunter. So that's also a sales data platform. So there are all these platforms that are also available. So so if you have any questions in particular, you want to talk about any sales data platforms, need any help, just feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to get on a call to discuss more as well. Other thing is here we want to talk about in general tools as such. We are used to a lot of these tools, but more than ever, we want the most important aspect is communication. So try to be communicative with your employees, with your candidates, with your customers, in all different modes as such, so that you can be productive, you as a person as well as them. So try to make sure you're connected with all the tools that are out in the market as well. Okay. So next, what we wanted to do is, I know like this is the last few minutes, but let's just go through some of the questions that have been put out.
Quickly before the questions, Venkat, just wanted to let everybody know, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, I'm a sales guy. I can't be, not talking about it. So anybody who's looking for an HRMS platform and an ATS platform, at Oorwin, we are offering for the next 1 year HRMS platform, absolutely free of cost. So please go ahead and, reach out to us, and our the sales team will reach out to and ensure that we get that activated for you. So Oorwin is the integrated platform currently for all the staffing and consulting companies, which will connect you with sales, recruitment, and HRMS. So all three put together in one single window. And during remote working, these are some of the things which you would require as a tool for you to achieve success. Your sales team is enabled, your recruiters are enabled with a great ATS, and then you have the HRMS also integrated with it. So quickly, sorry Venkat, I couldn't resist.
No
because
problem, no problem. So I wanted to bring up, it's interesting, that we have a few questions, and before we close up, I want to bring them up. So there's a question, Mahesh. Is to what extent does COVID-19 have an impact on recruiting a fresher in software-based jobs? So I think the impact in general, recruiting a fresher in software-based jobs is there, and it is the main thing is right now. Companies are still trying to figure out, right? So would they hire freshers? Yes, they would not stop, as my one sentence. But when they're starting, maybe may get delayed because ideally they're used to having recruiting a new candidate, right? So they would traditionally want to follow the same process of having them, training and all. So they themselves, organizations are trying to figure out how do you train freshers, right? So that's a problem statement that companies are having right now. So once they figure that out, once hiring starts up, I'm for sure it's just a matter of few months. I think after that, things will pick up. Is my personal feeling. Yeah. So I think the next question is, what about employees with internship experience? I think for sure, I know if there is, if anyone has experience, companies are always looking. So if there is any sort of, they look at cost, right? So it also comes out to cost. End of the day, it is all about cost. Is if they find the right candidate with the right skills, who's done an internship or anything, has done some projects relative, they are hiring for sure. I see that as a trend as well.
I have seen a lot of trend, which I have observed as internship during such times are pretty useful for part-time and projects which are small projects which needs immediate attention and they don't want to heavily invest. A lot of startups are hiring interns across the board, and it is one of the thing which is specifically everybody is looking at COVID as a 2-month, 3-month window. Of course, it looks like a 2-month lockdown or a 3-month lockdown, or it might be extended. But part-time work, internship, all these are very interesting job openings which will come out now, because there are a lot of the available pool has become big, because we have heard the sad part of the job also, where a lot of companies have let go their good resources in spite of they having a business, they undergoing a very low business as of now. So that pool is available, so you can get a lot of good resources, a lot of part-time jobs. So yeah, I mean, it's both ways. There is a lot of
Correct.
jobs also available. So yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I feel this is going to open up. Next 3-4 months will be good time for part-time and internship jobs, I feel.
Right. Also, I think we have a couple more questions, Mahesh. One was, the virus has created a large chunk of temporary jobs at the cost of heavy job cuts in permanent jobs. What is your comment on that? So I do understand, so that there has been a large chunk of temporary jobs that are opening up. So these permanent jobs have actually reduced. The main reason being, organizations in country like US have to, their biggest problem is the labor laws, right? So if you talk about hiring a full-time employee, it's just not hiring their salary. There's also these other components in terms of
Correct.
insurance, benefits, in terms of also labor laws that they have to, to to ensure, right? So what companies are doing is right now, unfortunately, it's the reality is they are cutting down the cost there with some sort of leverage, but in the short term, for as you look at it, for a consulting and staffing company, it may be an opportunity there, but at the same time it's an impact for an individual as such. But the individual also has a lot more opportunities out there, so that's the other side of looking at things right now, but unfortunately that's the reality.
Yeah, I think the one last question will take maybe what is the impact of COVID on hiring industry? What hiring industry will look like in 4 months?
So I think that's a very good question. There is an impact on hiring in industry as such right now, because it is customers are trying to reduce costs. So the biggest ways in which hiring has been affected is your existing workforce. There's been reduction in costs. So customers are asking companies for a reduction in rate or a percentage cut, or furlough employees for a later point of time. And also the other side is also hiring has gone down in some industries, and it has also gone up in different industries. So it's very important to figure out which industries you're targeting and try to improve your hiring in those industries as such, because that's going to create value for you as a staffing or consulting company. So it's very important to do that. The other part of the question was what hiring industry will look like in 4 months. I think it's a very good question. I wish I know what the future is, but I don't in general. But as soon as the market picks up, especially with the heavy investments and the support that the government is providing in US, I I see that there is going to be business being generated, right? So it is actually going to cover up for some of the losses that people, small and medium businesses and larger organizations have incurred, but they're also going to pick up and start hiring more, right? Because they still need to get back, right? And even they will come up with new initiatives and new ways of doing business. For that, technology as such is a very important backbone. So, and they would want contingent workforce to come in and help them out on these newer initiatives. So that sort is still going to be there. So we see that as a positive and negative thing, where there is going to be reduce in cost. At the same time, there's going to be new business to be found somewhere. Good. I think we are on time right now, Mahesh.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I do want to thank everyone for joining here. And I'm available online. If you want to talk more, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Mahesh on LinkedIn. We're happy to talk about any other challenges that you're facing. If you want to schedule some in-person time as well, do let us know. And we as Oorwin as well as such are providing a solutions for a lot of these remote challenges that companies are facing. So our intent is also to make sure that we help you out in these unprecedented times. So if there is anything that we can help with, please reach out to us, and we are happy to help you out in any other area. Yep.
Yeah, I
Good.
mean, we are planning to have more such webinars in the coming weeks. You will see that. The whole idea and the intent of the webinar is to equip each one of you from the staffing and consulting industry to enable you to take your business and not stop your business. So that's the whole idea. So it was a pleasure. I think so, Venkat. That was a brilliant rundown on how staffing and consulting companies or the industry on a whole can really utilize the time and utilize the different tools available for their use. So thank you very much, everybody, for participating. So,
Thanks, everyone.